The landscape which passes through only one cycle of erosion or completes one cycle of erosion is called as monocyclic landforms. Such landscape is very rare on the surface of the earth. The basic question here is that why monocyclic landforms are not common. Monocyclic landforms are very rare due to the fact that there is a break in the cycle of erosion or the cycle of erosion is interrupted. The next question posed here is that what is meant by the interruptions in the cycle of erosion? The interruptions in the cycle of erosion are caused due to rejuvenation, and rejuvenation is responsible for the evolution of multicyclic landforms. With this background, the basic objectives of this lesson are to understand the concept of interruption in the cycle of erosion, to understand what is meant by rejuvenation and how it is caused, to know what are the various polycyclic or multicyclic landforms. Daviesian cyclic concept envisages gradual sequential changes in the uplifted landmass through the stages of youth, mature and old, culminating into a development of low featureless plane called as peneplain. The completion of such generalized and ideal form of cycle of erosion depends on the stability of the Earth's crust, which is rarely possible as the Earth is unstable or dynamic in nature. The cycle of erosion does not necessarily pass through youth, maturity and old stage. Thus, the cycle of erosion is liable to have interruption at any stage in the cycle of erosion. Any sort of obstacles in the normal functioning of the cycle of erosion is called as interruptions in the cycle of erosion. Thus, the cycles which are punctuated by the interruptions are called as interrupted cycles. The landscape may undergo interruptions in any stage of the cycle. Therefore, interruptions in the cycle of erosion denotes any break in the orderly cyclic evolution of the landscape. These interruptions always change the energy of the river. Due to the interruptions in the orderly cycle of erosion, fresh cycle of erosion may start. In fact, it is rarely that the cycle of landform development is ever complete. The interruptions in the cycle of erosion may be due to some disturbances in the form of the earth movements. Due to the interruption in the cycle of erosion, the streams that had previously attained the profile of equilibrium, which is the characteristic of the maturity stage, is again engaged actively in valley deepening, as in case of youthful stage. Interruptions in the cycle of erosion accelerate the rate of erosion. Rejuvenation simply means acceleration in the erosive power of the river caused by lowering of the sea level or upliftment of the area. A river which is in the late maturity or the old age acquires the diagnostic characteristics of the youthful stage is said to be rejuvenated. The topography which the river produces is called as rejuvenated topography. Rejuvenation lengthens the period of cycle of erosion. For example, if the cycle of erosion is passing through the old or senile stage characterized by gentle channel gradient, sluggish river flow and broad shallow valleys, after rejuvenation, the cycle is interrupted and driven back to the youthful stage, characterized by steep channel gradient and valley deepening. Due to change in the sea level, that is lowering of the sea level or upliftment of an area, the river undertakes vertical erosion or downcutting, because the gradient is increased and consequently the velocity of the river. Increase in the channel gradient and velocity increases the kinetic energy of the river, which is transformed into vertical erosion. When the kinetic energy increases, the river gets rejuvenated. Rejuvenated river means a river with renewed vigor of erosive capacity. Rejuvenated rivers are again engaged in valley deepening at much faster rate, and thus the cycle of erosion is driven back to the youthful stage. Rejuvenation simply means acceleration of the erosive power of the river caused by the variety of factors. Rejuvenation lengthens the period of cycle of erosion. Based on the causes of rejuvenation, three types of rejuvenations are identified. 1. The dynamic rejuvenation, 2. Eustatic rejuvenation, and 3. Static rejuvenation. Now let us talk about the dynamic rejuvenation. Dynamic rejuvenation is brought about by various earth movements like upliftment of the land, tilting of the land, or lowering of the outlet. Upliftment imparts increased kinetic energy and higher transporting power of the load, and hence greater availability for erosion and transportation. Outlets are where the river drains, and if the outlet is lowered, then the velocity of the river increases, resulting in high degree of erosion leading to down cutting. Tilting of the land results in the steepening of the stream gradient, leading to down cutting by the rivers, which now has transporting power in excess of that is required for the transportation of their load. Eustatic rejuvenation. The basic causes for eustatic rejuvenation is the negative change in the base level or sea level. Negative change in the base level is related to the fall or lowering in the sea level. Eustatic rejuvenation results from the causes that produce worldwide lowering of the sea level. Eustatic rejuvenation caused due to the lowering of the sea level will cause rejuvenation of a stream at its mouth. The eustatic negative change in the sea level is caused during the glacial ages, when most of the sea water is locked on the continents as thick cover of ice sheets. Glaciation causes fall in the sea level. The consequent lowering of the sea level causes steepening of the river channel gradient of the stream and is actively engaged in down cutting of the valleys. Static rejuvenation. Static rejuvenation involves neither the upliftment of the area nor the eustatic lowering of the sea level. Static rejuvenation of the stream involves increase in its discharge due to the increased rainfall, decrease in the stream load, and river capture. Climatic changes like increased rainfall in the river basin will result in an increase in the volume of water and hence increase in its energy both to erode vertically and transport the load. Another cause for the static rejuvenation is river capture. River capture increases the stream volume by diverting the water of one river to another, resulting in an increase in stream volume through acquisition of new drainage by stream diversion. The landscape which shows the imprints of more than one cycle of erosion are called as multicyclic landforms. Polycyclic landscape is associated with two or more partially completed cycle of erosion. Polycyclic landforms developed by number of geographic cycles one after another, leaving distinct marks on the landscape. Polycyclic landforms are evolved due to the rejuvenation or interruption in the cycle of erosion. Appalachian regions of USA and Chota Nagpur region of India presents typical examples of multicyclic landscape. The rejuvenated or the multicyclic landforms include topographic discordance, uplifted peneplains, incised meanders, paired terraces, and neck points. Topographic discordance. Topographic discordance refers to the creation of older topographic forms above the younger forms, below or when the topography of the accordance or uniformity is not maintained along vertical cross section of the valley. In other words, when the topographic uniformity or accordance is not maintained or rather disturbed due to the interruption in the fluvial cycle of erosion caused by rejuvenation. The resultant topographic expression is called as topographic unconformity or discordance, wherein the upper part of the valley reveals signs of a mature stage, whereas the lower part of the valley belongs to the youthful stage. The river develops flat and shallow valleys at the end of mature and beginning of the old stage. When there is a sudden negative change in the base level or lowering of the sea level or upliftment of the landmass, the river is rejuvenated and begins active down cutting of the valley due to increased erosive power. Thus, a deep and narrow valley is formed within the broad flat valley. This new deep valley is flanked by terraces on its either side, which represents earlier older valley. Such topography is called as valley in valley topography. The Damodar Valley at Rajroppa in Hazaribagh in Jharkhand is a typical example of polycyclic valley or topographic discordance, which is characterized by two-storied topographic discordance. Is also observed in the valley of Narmada River at Bera Ghat near Jabalpur in MP. Three-storied valleys are seen in Himalayas where the rivers were rejuvenated thrice due to the three major episodes of upliftment of Himalayas during tertiary orogeny. Uplifted peneplains. Uplifted peneplains are formed due to the interruption caused due to rejuvenation in the form of upliftment. Peneplains are formed when the area reaches the base level and when it has been uplifted high above the present base level, so as to enter the second cycle of erosion. Uplifted peneplains are in fact the results of successive cycles of erosion, wherein several fluvial cycles of erosion are completed in succession. Three uplifted peneplains have been identified in the Appalachian regions of USA. These three phases of upliftment from older to younger are 𝗧𝗎𝗪 peneplain, Harrisburg peneplain and Somerville peneplain. Another typical example of uplifted peneplains is the Patlands of Ranchi Plateau, which is higher than the central Ranchi Plateau. The evidences of uplifted peneplains are 1. Accordance in the interstream levels and summit areas, the presence of topographic unconformities, presence of thick weathered rock debris, presence of remnants of former alluvium. Now let us talk about the incised meander. Meandering of the river is generally associated with the maturity stage of the river. Lateral erosion or bank erosion is associated with meandering river. Incised meanders are the representative features of the rejuvenation. Incised meander is developed through vertical erosion leading to valley incision or valley deepening, consequent upon renewed erosive power due to rejuvenation. The narrow deep meanders form due to the accelerated rate of valley incision or valley downcutting caused by rejuvenation within the broad meanders developed by the lateral erosion during the first cycle of erosion are called as incised meanders. If a stream that is meandering widely over a floodplain is rejuvenated, it may proceed to cut a canyon or a gorge into the old meanders because of extra erosive capacity while still retaining the meandering form. Incised meanders are further divided into two types. One, entrenched incised meanders. Entrenched meanders are those which have uniform slopes of both the valley sides of the meander loops. The cross section of the valley will be generally symmetrical in nature. Entrenched meanders have been affected simply by vertical erosion, and therefore the valley cross section is even and symmetrical. Second one, ingrown meanders. Ingrown meanders are which has unequal slopes on valley sides, wherein one side of the valley represent concave side and is deeply undercut, and the outer side is convex side is characterized by gentler slopes. The ingrown meanders may be associated with asymmetrical valley sides. In ingrown meander, some of the lateral as well as vertical erosion has occurred, and therefore the cross section of the valley may be asymmetrical. The meandering valley of Karo River downstream in the southern margin of Ranchi Plateau has been considerably incised due to rejuvenation, and hence represents an ideal example of incised meander. Another typical example of incised meander is Damodar Gorge near Rajropa. Nick points. Nick point or nick point represents break in the slope of the longitudinal profile of the river caused by rejuvenation. In other words, nick point is a break in a long profile of the river resulting from fall or lowering of the sea level. Nick point is also called as rejuvenation head. These breaks in the channel gradient or nick points denote sudden drop of elevation in the longitudinal profile of the river and allow water to fall down vertically, giving birth to waterfalls of varying dimensions. These waterfalls associated with nick points are called as nick point waterfalls. Hundru Falls on the river Subarnarekha river near Ranchi is a good example of nick point caused by the rejuvenation. Waterfalls or rapids are associated with the point K or nick point. River terraces. River terraces are generally formed due to the erosion of former floodplains due to rejuvenation caused either by upliftment of the land or fall in the sea level. River terraces are produced by vertical erosion by the stream into its own depositional floodplain. When the river reaches the mature stage, vertical erosion or downcutting of the valley ceases. When the rivers are rejuvenated, the erosive capacity of the river increases substantially. Thus, the rejuvenated rivers deepen their valleys due to accelerated rate of vertical erosion. The river forms new narrow valleys with former wider and flat valleys, and thus terraces are formed on both sides of the former valley. When the river is again rejuvenated, new narrow valleys are formed due to valley deepening. This process leads to the formation of second pair of terraces. The step-like development on the sides of the valley slopes is called as terraces. The narrow flat surfaces on the either side of the valley floor are called as terraces. The river terraces are generally formed due to dissection of the fluvial sediments of the floodplains deposited along a valley floor. River terraces are classified as 1. Paired terraces and 2. Unpaired terraces. Paired terraces are formed due to the rapid rate of vertical erosion resulting into occurrence of terraces on both sides of the river valley almost at the same level. Unpaired terraces are formed due to the concomitant vertical erosion or valley deepening and lateral movement of the river channel. Many of the Himalayan rivers have more than one set of terraces. This indicates that these rivers have experienced rejuvenation more than once. The river terraces may also result due to the receding of waterfall after peak flow or change in the hydrological regime due to climatic changes. The cycle of erosion is not completed due to the break or interruption in the cycle of erosion. Interruption in the cycle of erosion denotes any break in the orderly or cyclic evolution of landscape. The interruption in the cycle of erosion is caused due to rejuvenation. Rejuvenation is also responsible for the acceleration in the erosive power of the river, which cause mostly either due to the lowering of the base level or the upliftment of an area. There are different types of rejuvenation, such as dynamic rejuvenation, which is mostly caused due to upliftment, eustatic rejuvenation caused due to the lowering of the base level or sea level, and static rejuvenation, which is caused due to climatic changes like increase in rainfall or river capture. Rejuvenation is responsible for the evolution of polycyclic landforms such as topographic discordance, uplifted peneplains, incised meanders, neck points, and alluvial terraces. In the next lesson, we will try to know more about the concept related to river, such as drainage system and drainage patterns.